Yes. There it is.
Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat, IGN's Nintendo podcast. My name is Philip Mewson, and today I am joined by Per Schneider, Brian Altano, and Casey DeFreitas.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you all here with me today.
This is good.
Yeah, sorry about the weird intro. I was waiting for my cue in my in-ear. Didn't get one. I don't know what's going on back there. This is a live show, by the way. Reminder, everyone. We are live on IGN.com every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely make sure you join us live on IGN if you want to catch the episode a day early. So how's everyone doing this week? It's been a little bit of a quiet week, right? No real big news coming out.
Nothing at all.
Nintendo
some online
space
stuff got announced.
Oh wait, yes, that's right. We finally got some details about what Nintendo Switch Online is actually going to be like. So I'm very excited to go over that a little later in the show. But we are also going to be talking about the future of Virtual Console and what Nintendo Switch Online means for the future of Virtual Console. We also want to talk about some of the top features that Nintendo Switch Online desperately needs, as well as a little bit of the GameFAQs leaks. I don't know if you guys caught that, but earlier there were some leaks that arose on GameFAQs. Some of it was right, some of it not so much, but I definitely still think that it's worth bringing to your attention as well. There's just a ton of stuff to go over. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Nintendo Switch Online was officially announced on, when was it? Monday?
It was like Monday night.
Yeah, it was weird. It was
weird
just kind of
time.
like...
This quietly snuck out some tweets that had everything laid out in it.
Yes, exactly.
And it both, like, it was kind of surprising, but it was also confirmation of a lot of things they've been saying for a long time anyway, right? They had mentioned the $20 a year thing. They had mentioned that basically the first year or so of Switch Online would be free. And so that didn't stop a lot of people from being very surprised at both of those things, despite them being very clearly telegraphed.
Yeah.
But here we are anyway. But there was, I think for me, the big thing in there was the reveal that it's going to launch with 20 NES games, which I've never played before, and I'm interested in trying. No, which I've now bought 40 times, so it'll be good to do that again.
Well, you won't own them though now, so it's different.
Okay, can we get into that then? Because that bums me out. I know I don't own
What
anything.
do you mean? Like, how does that bum you out? You already own them 50 times.
No, you own nothing
Okay.
when you buy digitally.
Fine.
You
This is
technically
true.
own nothing.
No, all right.
Ever.
All right.
And as a man who lost his Switch saves before, P.S. cloud saves are coming about time.
Yes.
You technically never own anything really ever. Even only your memories can you hold on to.
Aw.
And even those slip with time.
Yeah.
You can sometimes save games and game data onto a thumb drive and some other consoles.
Yeah.
Not with Nintendo, though.
No, not with Nintendo.
All right, well, before we get
Yes.
even deeper into this part of the conversation, because I did want to split it up into two different segments, where first we focus on Nintendo Switch Online as like a service as a whole, and then we can talk about the whole 20 NES classic games coming over to Switch and what that means for Virtual Console.
Yep.
But first and foremost, like you had mentioned, cloud saves have officially been announced. They're finally coming to Switch. Thank God. And then Nintendo did make it very clear that they're going to be moving forward with their mobile app for voice chat.
Thank not goodness.
Yeah, it's
Thank
like,
not
no.
goodness, no. They also announced a family plan, which apparently we can start
Thank
signing up
goodness
for
again.
on May
so-
15th.
Honestly, it hit me as I was looking at these announcements. I was like, oh no, now another online plan I have to pay for. Right.
Where you're doing the math in your head of all.
Yeah,
of the
when I
kids.
play like Destiny or Sea of Thieves with my kids on other platforms, I have to have subscriptions for 4 services.
Yeah.
Is that
right?
true?
Yeah, there are limitations. There's some sharing that you can do that you can also do with Steam, but at the core, you want people to have their own identity, play on multiple systems, and be able to
Right.
own the game rather than playing when you're not online. And this plan actually thought of parents. How nice! Thank you so much.
There
so
is-
I only have to buy one subscription, and people can play together, even on multiple Switches.
Yeah.
Can play an online.
And that
game together.
subscription is $34.95.
A year, yeah.
Yeah, a year.
And that's cheaper than a single Xbox Live Gold or PS Plus
PS Plus,
subscription.
yeah.
Before we get in any deeper into this, I do want to start a poll in the chat. I have a question for you guys. Do you plan on subscribing to Nintendo Switch Online? I'm curious to know how much of our audience is actually going to sign up once this thing does release in September, or if you're just going to skip it altogether and just stay away from playing games online. But yeah, so like now that Nintendo Switch Online is actually happening, it's a thing. Other games that heavily relied on online services like Splatoon 2, Mario Kart, ARMS, like upcoming Mario Tennis Aces, like those games will not be able to be played online anymore.
I'm sure they'll do the same thing. Like every time you buy an Xbox online enabled game, it comes with a card for free trial and stuff. I'm sure they'll do that kind of stuff.
And
right?
we've already
free weekends.
gotten a free trial for a whole year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
No, that's right.
That's one way of putting it.
Yep.
For sure.
But I just worry a little bit about like new Switch owners. For instance, like I know Splatoon here in the West is very popular amongst like younger audiences as well.
Yep.
So it's like a parent running into a store, to buy a Switch in Splatoon. Like they might not be aware that this is like a very online heavy experience. So
I totally agree.
games like that with Mario Kart as well. So
and Smash when it comes out.
exactly, yeah.
I mean, so I think that's the good thing in terms of strengthening the value of what this is, which we've said is only $20, but still $20 is $200 if you're 5, right? Or you're 10.
Yeah.
You just don't have that kind of money, period. You don't
Like
have a
dog years, like it multiplies when you're a kid.
Yeah, it's like it's everything or nothing basically. So I think that's kind of difficult. That said, I think it's really less about the price and more about the idea that there is going to be a significant value behind this.
Right.
And it's weird because is it called Nintendo Online right now?
Nintendo Switch Online.
Right, because like online multiplayer games are some of I'm like incredibly uninterested in those things.
Really?
As a gamer.
Okay.
In general, you guys, pair knows historically be like, oh, let's play Mario Kart together, let's play Splatoon together. I'm like, I don't want to play with you.
Given the success of Fortnite, I don't think you're the normal gamer.
No, I'm not. I love like story-driven video games.
Yeah.
I love like single-player games. I love like stuff like that. But there's so much under this umbrella that I feel comfortable paying for.
Right.
And-
like the classic games and the cloud saves things, which I have to say, I have to stick a knife in a little bit on this. It kind of sucks that they are the only major player in the industry that is charging for cloud saves. And right now there
PlayStation 2, right?
Yeah,
without an option of backup.
That's exactly
on
it.
your own. Like, so charging for cloud saves is one thing. I'm okay with that. I understand server costs are expensive. These things get expensive, right? But not giving me as a player the ability to back up my own saves on my own devices, which is effectively free.
Yeah.
Right.
It costs them nothing. Kind of sucks.
And right now, if you lose your Switch or it breaks, your account is gone too. There's no way to back that up. And that is, so I'm hoping that the online service fixes that so you can then log into. But there's something on the FAQ that kind of worries me a little bit. It says Nintendo Switch Online can be used on any device by signing in with the Nintendo account that purchased the membership.
Yeah.
So does that mean everyone else on the family membership that isn't the person who purchased the account,
Can't do the cloud.
will they not be able to
backups?
log into other systems?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the unanswered question here. It's like, how is identity handled?
Yeah.
Can I log into another system and re-download a game temporarily? I just ran into this. I told you the story. I flew to Germany, had my Switch prepped, games downloaded, put it on the counter at home, got in the car with my wife, drove to the airport, and said, "Oh crap, my Switch is at home." And then 11-hour flight. So of course I do what anyone would do. I stopped at Best Buy, bought a new at GameStop, bought a new Switch.
Oh my gosh.
And bought a bunch of cartridge games that I didn't own yet.
Rebought all the Joy-Cons to put on the
And then when I got
one.
home, I transferred that one account with the save back to my Switch. So now I have like a Pair 2 account with different games on that one. But in the new scenario, would I just be able to log into that new system with my online ID, download some of the games, or no? Is it just for the saves?
I would say anywhere else, sure. With the power of Nintendo, question mark.
Well,
Yeah.
Brian, I mean, you lost your saves. You lost your Switch, essentially, right?
Stop mentioning it. Look at
I know it's a very sore subject for you. I'm very sorry to bring it up again.
Oh, because I was tweeting about the online thing, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is too little, too late for you." And I was like, "Well, I'd rather lose my saves once than twice."
Yeah.
Like it sucked once, but I'm glad it doesn't have to suck.
Were you
twice.
were you able to like log into your account and re-download all of your previous purchases?
so that I was able to access my account no problem, and you
Okay.
can re-download. Like it doesn't lose all the money you ever spent on it.
Okay.
It
that's
just
good.
loses your saves, like your progress is gone.
Okay.
Nice.
And I believe your screen caps and photos and stuff like that. That I have to double check.
How do you re-access your account? So you got your Switch back.
Yeah.
Because I tried, if I have an account on a Switch already, I cannot access that account anywhere else unless I have two switches.
You transfer. Yeah,
but you have to have
transfer.
both switches next to each other and have them both plugged in and have them both connected to the same Wi-Fi.
You have to do
I
that.
believe I just logged into it through the eShop, or it was there already.
You may have disconnected your account. The
Yeah.
customer service people disconnected it from the old
It's-
Yeah, I
system
think it was
ID.
there already.
Okay.
It's an exception that Nintendo has to make because I've had another friend that this has happened to as well, and he said he called Nintendo support, and they were like, "Okay, we'll do it for you this time." Like, kind of gave him the cold shoulder a little bit, but.
I got to think this saves some of that identity, some of that user account
has
stuff,
to.
so you'll
It
be
has
able to
to.
log in more freely. But I wish they had stated that in this announcement.
Yeah, but to backtrack a little bit, like Philip, I'm totally with you on the concern that new players buying a Switch for the first time, who are young, who are jumping into games like Mario Kart and Splatoon. I mean, Mario Kart is the kind of thing that, like, I don't know, there's enough going on there locally
Right.
that I think it's okay. But with other games, I mean, Splatoon has a lot of
Splatoon.
Yeah.
definitely, right?
I bet you the bundle will include a free year. I think they'll switch to a bundle marketing strategy for like Splatoon bundle has 1 year of online included, don't you think?
Right.
I think a year would be the minimum, especially because it's at such a low price point already.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be that difficult.
That
for
would
them
be
to
smart.
offer it.
And
That
then
would be
to
really smart,
activate, you always need a credit card, and then you're screwed.
Yeah.
And you're on.
I've got some poll results real quick I want to get to. 85% of you said yes, you are signing up for Nintendo Switch Online, which isn't really a surprise. If anything, I would have guessed it to be a little bit higher than that. But yeah, I mean, 85%, that's pretty great. It's good. We're going to see a lot of you guys online. And also, someone in the chat has a question. Brian, what are you drinking?
Oh, it's a cold brew iced coffee.
This is always a
Cold
question.
brew iced coffee.
Well, because it
Delicious.
always looks like something that
It's
the
coffee.
cow
Pear.
lost on the pasture.
Pear, you eat those weird spicy German licorice candies, like strange old elf.
Or Swedish ones.
Iced coffee. It's beautiful. Gets you through the day. But that's none of my business.
Hicksonar 28 has a comment about your Joy-Con endeavor or buying another Switch. He says GM money, baby, which I know that we hear a lot here. But yeah, so I just thought I'd shout that out real quick. Thank you, Nick.
Can we talk about the NES game stuff real quick?
Yeah, let's cut over to the future of Virtual Console and all.
Because
that
I think
stuff.
this is super cool. I think it's weird that we only know part of the lineup so far, but for the stuff we saw in there's Dr. Mario, there's Zelda, there's Mario 3, and they're adding online functionality to a lot of that.
Right.
And
Makes sense for most of them already had
yeah.
multiplayer, but Zelda didn't. So I'm really
that's
into
the
That
question
feature
mark.
is
Yeah.
awesome. No, that feature is so
Yeah,
cool.
let's talk about that a
You
little
can
bit.
play the game single player with the friend watching you, and whenever you want, you can hand the controller to them virtually.
No.
It's freaking awesome.
Oh wait, virtually?
Yeah, so they literally
You are spectating,
Yeah.
You're spectating me playing,
Yeah.
and I can say, all right, Casey, you take over. And
That's
you play
really
at home
cool.
and play my save.
it's
That
Okay.
is awesome.
They're literally
really
calling it like past the controller.
Okay.
Yeah, sort
Yeah.
of like how PS4 players have the option to like share a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what is it, for 30 minutes or something?
Yep.
Well, this apparently doesn't have a time limit, so you could pass the controller.
It's so cool because it's like when you were a kid and you're playing with your friend on the couch, and like you get to a point you're like, all right, fine, you play, or
Right.
you play Mario Brothers, which you can do the handoff too, where every time you die you give the controller to your friend. Well, now you just do it online.
That's
you guys
really
are
cool.
playing the
Super
game
cool.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what about like, I mean, there aren't a ton of sort of like couch co-op multiplayer games
Yeah.
on the NES that fall under the sort of the compartment of Nintendo first party stuff, right? Because that's something it's worth noting here. We've only seen first party stuff as part of all of this. And we'll get into that conversation about Virtual Console later, but I imagine that's going to be what things look like for a while because that's just the nature of things now.
Yeah.
I think everybody's figuring out how to make their own money on the side.
Yeah.
But for stuff like that Nintendo makes that's like there's like, I don't know, Balloon Fight is one of them where two players can play at the same time. Stuff like soccer and tennis, I believe.
Golf, yeah.
Golf, yeah. Actually, I think golf is single player.
Is it?
Yeah,
You can still pass the controller though.
Yeah. Yeah, but
You want to spectate me while I play golf?
just
We'll
mean.
pass the
I mean, it
controller.
is the best spectating sport, right?
can someone spectate me while I stand up and fall asleep and hit my head on the floor?
Yeah. But we don't know. They might also add some leaderboards or some time
Yeah,
challenges
yeah.
to the mix, right?
And so I think like stuff like Dr. Mario is going to work like that. That's going to be
Yeah.
really cool to play online in the same way you can play like Puyo Puyo Tetris with people online.
Yeah.
Like to have that with an NES game, Dr. Mario, is like really interesting to me because
Mario's
they
so
are
good.
not redoing the graphics. They are not like re-releasing these games in HD. I mean, you don't need to. They're pixel perfect, right? So yeah, it'd be really cool to see what they do with that kind of stuff. And I think from there to see how often they roll out more of them. Like, are they giving us 20 at once? Do they go away the second I stop paying for it? Like,
all of that is unknown. I'm assuming it's just a library that keeps growing over time, but you never know. They might go yoink and take one away. The notable part is that they call this Nintendo Entertainment System Nintendo Switch Online. Very unwieldy name, of course, but it has little TMs and Rs and everything on there. But the fact that they make this so explicitly NES is interesting to me.
Right.
yes.
Right? Like they didn't pick a title that kind of left the door open for Super NES or N64 or Game Boy. Or maybe that is another season that gets layered on top, where now suddenly you have Nintendo 64, Nintendo Online, or whatever.
I would be fine.
We don't know.
I would be fine with that as long as they don't raise any prices or like
And are
add
they
any
gonna-
extra fees. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Are they going to cycle out the games that are available, or are
yeah,
they just
I
going
mean-
to keep adding them?
I don't know. I mean, the only contemporary example we have of something like this is kind of like the PlayStation Plus business model.
And the games disappear, but you accumulate.
Yeah,
right?
you accumulate them, and all you have to do is basically sync a download, like tell your system or on your web browser, I want Beyond Two Souls and Rayman Legends, and they just get tucked away in your shopping.
In your library. You
Yeah,
don't
your
download
library.
them.
Your system effectively treats them. Your account treats them as transactions that you purchased. You get a receipt in your email for $0.00, and they are in your library forever until you stop paying for PlayStation Plus. But then you can let your account lapse for a bit, I believe.
yeah.
Repay, get back in, and then keep going.
I know for cloud saves, it's 6 months.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the same for the library. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah.
For-
Who knows?
For this, yeah.
But right now, we only know NES games. I imagine we'll get more later. I don't think we're going to get as far as GameCube and stuff like that. Who knows? I mean, I think GameCube emulation in general is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, there's a huge library of Game Boy and DS and N64, Super NES,
SNES, yeah.
Virtual Boy if you want to play red games. No, but before you even have to go to GameCube. And that's what's so weird about this plan. This sounds so NES focused. I mean, they're definitely celebrating their kind of like their classic heritage with this.
Yeah. I saw you said DS. I saw somebody a while back mocked up a like sort of like a Switch thing that rotated the screen so it's vertical and had the Joy-Cons on the side.
Oh.
So you could basically play with like a giant touchscreen in
Yeah.
the middle.
Yeah.
So that's one way to do it. That's better than playing them on your TV through a Wii U,
Yeah.
which was like just not
amazing.
great.
Well, let's go ahead and start another poll for the chat. I want to ask the question: do you think Nintendo made a mistake by ditching Virtual Console for Switch and announcing the new Nintendo Classics system? Yes or no, essentially. Because I think that this, at the end of the day, is almost a reboot for Virtual Console. I think it's almost like a rebranding. I wrote an article about it a couple days ago when Nintendo announced it, and that was sort of my angle. And I'm really kind of sticking by that because I think it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective, and I think that's maybe how Nintendo is looking at it. Because like for the average person out there, as far as Virtual Console is concerned, it was basically an a la carte system, right, where you could buy games individually, right, from the Virtual Console.
And new ones would be released.
Right. And so
month.
so obviously there's a lot of hardcore Nintendo fans out there like us that would buy a bunch of them. But then there's also those other people out there who are more casual players that would buy like the big ones like Zelda and Mario and maybe Donkey Kong, and then that's it.
We saw like basically sales charts for them. I believe Nintendo was pretty open about that, and there might have been a way to like tabulate that on the old systems. And all the games you just named were always at the top.
Right.
Like it was never even a guess.
So what I think is like, if this is a system where they keep adding more games to the mix, they're essentially getting everybody's money. 85% of our chat's $20 every year, essentially, right? So at the end of the day, this could mean more money in the long run for Nintendo because people would essentially continue to pay for it, whether or not they are playing those games, essentially.
I mean, yes and no. I would say for a power user like everyone sitting here, I would have given them way more than $20 a year for Virtual Console games. I have.
Right.
I mean, they were selling NES games for $5 a pop, and they're giving me 20 for $20.
Yeah.
And I would have bought 20 of those for $5 each. You know?
But again, like they're limiting it to NES right now. I'm curious to see if this plan will expand to some of the later games, or if that will be treated completely separately, where they will release an N64 game for $5 like that, just in the eShop.
Maybe they'll release more games outside of what's free, and then offer people who have Nintendo Switch Online a discount for them.
Yeah, I'm pretty torn because gaming history preservation is something that I care about. You know, as like person getting older and watching games disappear, and especially games that are online now, they just go away for good. So preservation is important, but in terms of kind of a first party or third party publisher deciding how to retell the story, re-releasing one of their classic games, there's so many ways they can do that now that aren't necessarily just dragging and dropping them onto the eShop. Also, this online stuff is setting a precedent that has to happen for every single game.
Right.
Whereas with some games, like the Zelda Pass the Controller thing is really cool, but I don't necessarily need that. And if that's going to hold back the development of porting A Link to the Past so I don't have it on Switch in the next 2 years, then that kind of sucks, right? I look at companies like Square Enix, Capcom, Konami, companies that are constantly... Yeah, thumbs up to them. Constantly re-releasing their classic games in different ways, right? A lot of them are putting them on, they're basically just putting them out as downloads. Some of them are putting them on iOS. Some of them are remastering them. Square recently took Secret of Mana and a bunch of other games, packaged them in a collection.
Sega Ages is on
its way. Sega Ages.
With Dreamcast games, by the way.
Capcom is putting basically every Mega Man game that they ever made on the NES and Super NES on Switch by the end of the month in big, hearty collections. So I don't ever see the Virtual Console as we know it being the way it used to be in terms of everybody coming together and playing fair.
Right.
And I bring up Netflix because Netflix is a company that when they first started, everyone was playing with. Warner Brothers had movies there, Disney had movies there. Little by little, people thought, we can get our own little share of the streaming pie, right? And we can get our own piece of the puzzle here.
I hate that.
Yeah. And
it'll happen with Disney, right?
It sucks for us, and it's why you saw Netflix ramp up production of their original independent content and why everybody has their own thing now. And so I think that's why we're seeing so much first-party stuff here.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is cool for us because we know it and we know what's going on and we love
There's
these
a finite
games.
supply, though. That's
Right.
That's
it's
the
also,
challenge.
you mentioned casual gamers. A lot of casual gamers are like, I used to have a Nintendo. Nintendo made Contra. They made Castlevania. They start naming all these things that they kind of like merge in their head as
Games not actually
first-party.
made by Nintendo.
Right.
Yeah, and they weren't, So when they go to look for those things, they're not there. And then it gets kind of dicey.
But we'll see. I mean, Nintendo has... We're at the start here. We don't know everything about this platform, and we may very well see that kind of stuff where, like 1 month, maybe Konami month or something, and you get your Contras or something, and maybe they rotate it out the next month, and those games are no longer owned or accessible by you, and then Konami can still do their own collection. Like I think there's a lot of flexibility here with a subscriber service.
Yeah, maybe they'll only be available for a limited amount of time, as like every month as like an extended demo, and then you'll have the option to purchase them at a discounted. This is complete speculation.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of
No,
how
I
it
hope
works.
that is the case. I do hope it's not one of those things. So on the Nintendo 3DS, if you bought it early, good for you. You unlocked the ability to pay way more for that system than anybody else. I was there.
You got the ambassador status.
We got an apology certificate that stayed on our systems for a very long time. But we also got access to something like 6 Game Boy Advance or Super Nintendo games.
Super NES, good ones.
And they're really good ones. Yep. And they stayed there forever, but there was no other way to get those on that system.
Yep.
And that's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool for me because I was there. I had my like sadness JPEG to prove that I spent more money. But most people could never access those, and so people would ask me like, "How do I get those games in my system?" And I'd be like, "You don't."
You go pay a crazy amount of money to someone else who owns a system.
Yeah, who owns a system? Exactly.
Well, you buy a Super NES Classic.
Yeah, you get one of
and
those.
you're sitting in front of your TV.
I mean, so I guess that helps those people, right, in that situation. But I just hope it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, you want to play Contra? Cool, we have it this November, but then in December it's gone forever. And if you weren't there in November, you just don't get to play Contra.
See, I kind of like that. Like as long as there is some way to access those games beyond the subscription, right? Like Konami releasing that game as a download separately, and that may very well happen. They're just one-offs that you can download also for $3.
So then,
without the handoff feature, obviously,
Real quick.
It'll never be $3, by the way.
No. Before we go any further, I just want to say we got poll results in, and 61% of you say no. we're good. As in regards to Nintendo making a mistake by ditching Virtual Console for Nintendo Classic. So most people seem to be okay with it, which is nice. I personally am okay with it. I think it's fine. It was a huge surprise, but
I think it's just a name.
Yeah, it's a name at the end of the day.
And the reality is that, like, in the same week, they basically said, hey, we're not really focusing on that name right now. They announced that 20 NES games are coming to the system. So that's acknowledgement that people want classic games. They have a system in place for them. How that plays out, we'll see. But what they call it is irrelevant to me.
So let's spend 5 minutes here talking about some of the top missing features that we think Nintendo Switch Online desperately needs right now. And I'll go ahead and kick it off. A big one for me is a party chat system. I really like having party chat on Xbox or PlayStation, just being able to jump from game to game, no matter which game you're playing, and still being able to talk with your friends on the system, or in Nintendo's case, even the mobile app would be fine. That would be a cool implementation to see on Switch, but we, as of now, have no word of that happening.
As someone who moved across the country over here, that is my main method of communication to all of my friends back home is party chat when I'm playing games. But the Switch, and I think honestly the limitation is just that there's no aux plug in any of the controllers.
Yeah, I think there are more limitations. Like it is you need excess RAM in order to have party chat on top of running all the different games. So I think during development that was one of the things where they said, all right, let's find a different solution.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's an issue. It's a bummer. I would agree that is the biggest one. The chat solution, despite the app obviously evolving over time, maybe getting better, it's not anything that we want. We want plug and play and simple. And the Switch is so simple in every other way. Like the way you dock it, the way it goes to sleep. That is like the one kind of hang up that's really annoying.
A lot of people have been using Discord as an alternative for Switch Online. And shout out, by the way, to the NVC Discord. I was playing with you guys earlier last weekend, actually. So thank you very much for inviting me to that. I'll drop a link in the description to the NVC Discord as well if you guys are interested in joining that. There's a lot of people in there playing all sorts of Switch games online, so make sure you check it out. But yeah, what are some other features that you guys think need to come?
I think the big one is reputation, right? Every other system has an achievement system where, the more games you play and the more awards you unlock, the better you look to your friends and enemies, right? There is a true kind of like forward path, and the Switch is very limited to I played 140 hours of Zelda or left it on pause for 140 hours, right? Like, there is no kind of like building reputation. And then with that, the kind of the connection to like group into clans or groups, that's the kind of depth I think an online community needs over time. Right. I'm hoping something like that gets added further down the road, but it doesn't have to be the exact kind of copycat reputation system the other guys have, right? Like cross-platform games now have the same achievements and trophies between these two platforms, which makes them less unique. Yeah. And I'm hoping Nintendo can do something that is more unique, where you get a badging system that ties in with their biggest characters or franchise, something like that, where it doesn't necessarily like layer additional like achievements like jump 100 times in Mario, like that kind of silly stuff on top of the game.
I appreciated like the sort of stickers stuff they did with Miiverse. It's not something I used practically all the time, but it was also something that was there, and it was so triumphantly weirdly Nintendo. Yeah, which is I think what they need to lean into, because people are so deep into their ecosystems on PS4 and Xbox at this point. They have their gamer scores and their trophies have been carrying over for what feels like centuries now, that they're not going to start to build up that number from scratch, especially with all the third-party games coming. So having something new and unique there would be really interesting.
And the Wii did some of that on the the Wii U on the main menu with kind of like they started with the little people running in, and then the ring of different communities around that. They never fully realized that either. Like when you're on Twitter or any social network, you kind of like that people follow you. Like there's this kind of forward movement, and to bring that needs to be brought to the forefront with Switch too, I feel like.
I really like that system with the Wii U. I love just going on the different games boards and seeing everyone's drawings of like those games. Those were, I don't know, always
the Wii U had
amusing.
such a big social community, and it's unfortunate that we don't have that on Switch right now.
And that
it's being ported to Switch for $59.99.
But that goes back to identity too, right? right? So there's reputation, I think, is lacking, and then there's identity, something that makes it feel unique and different. And like if you go into the chat app, it's like it doesn't quite feel right. It doesn't feel Nintendo enough. Like they can do so much more with that on the actual platform.
Well, it's technically still in beta, so I'd love to see what it's actually going to look like once it's fleshed out. Did you guys have any sort of features that you wanted to add or that you think Nintendo needs to bring to Switch Online? I'll say another one for me is system level game invites. Just being able to jump into any game that you're playing. Like, let's say if you're playing Splatoon and your friend's playing Mario Kart, it'd be cool to invite them into your Splatoon 2 game while they're playing Mario Kart. I was like playing Splatoon last weekend, and I was trying to invite friends into a Splatfest, but that was like impossible to do. Yeah, I couldn't do it. So
that's a no-brainer. I mean, they did add notifications to see when your friends are playing another game, so they have the overlays.
None of my friends care.
There's already maybe it's just
me. No.
My friend is Pear, and he's just always playing Picross. It's just no matter.
I'm done.
No matter what.
I'm
Do you
done.
see me? Like my name pops up. I'm playing all these different weird indie games, and you're just like Picross.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, well, let's keep it moving forward. We're running out of time. We've got about 30 minutes left of the show, and I really want to get through to the rest of these topics. So yeah, let's go ahead and quickly go over some of the GameFAQs leaks that happened I want to say like a week ago now. So this was officially leaked on GameFAQs by Lazyman. Officially.
There's such a thing as an official leak?
Official leak by an official leaker on GameFAQs. Yeah, so, what really drove a lot of attention to this was that Lazyman had predicted the announcement of the Nintendo Switch Online service, which was on May 7th. And so he just nailed that right. And he got a lot of what they said correct, or what they did correct. So, like, for instance, his exact post was, Nintendo is ditching the Virtual Console brand and replacing it with Nintendo Classics. Now, obviously, they never announced Nintendo Classics as the official name. But, they didn't really announce, NES or NES Nintendo Switch Online games. Like, that doesn't sound like an official name to me, but it could. It could be. He also said that there will be a new Paper Mario game coming in 2019. This is obviously an E3 leak, so this is all stuff that we could potentially be hearing during E3. There's plans for Mario Odyssey DLC that lets you play as Luigi and adds 70 more unique stars to Luigi, as well as Wario and Waluigi becoming playable characters in Mario Odyssey with an additional 70 moons for each of them.
You don't buy it?
No, I don't think I want to see those men.
Oh, I see.
Really?
in those costumes.
How could you say that on this podcast?
I don't want to body shame them, but Luigi's okay. Waluigi is a disturbing individual.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's disturbing, but he's also hilarious.
He is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Paper Mario thing is weird because Nintendo has outright stated that everything they're showing at E3 this year will be released by the end of the year.
Okay.
So...
Okay.
They always have a trailer or something, though, for a future game.
I know. I basically don't believe anyone ever anymore.
Me neither, especially, because of all the leaks. I feel like Nintendo now is sprinkling some wrong stuff in with their information too.
Yeah.
Like Waluigi playable.
Like Waluigi. That seems really weird to me. But like Luigi playable or DLC, it's a no-brainer. Odyssey sold a ton of copies, and like the game is not over.
They never said
we'll get more.
They never said they were stopping DLC for it, so there's no reason why they wouldn't add something. Now, if it's going to be this exact thing, that's still up in the question or up in the air for question. But I definitely think that we'll see something eventually.
And Paper Mario is not dead; it'll come back. Like,
yeah,
those are all safe bets to make.
Yeah, I agree.
He also mentioned that Black Ops 4 Battle Royale is coming to Switch with crossplay for with PC and Xbox. But the regular Black Ops 4 will be it's going to be different. Like, it's not going to be like the full Black Ops 4 multiplayer. It's just going to be this Battle Royale mode. That's
very interesting, by the way, because they're going in strange directions with that franchise in general by stripping the single player out and adding a battle royale mode instead. But if only that part comes to Switch, I'm wondering what it would cost. If hypothetically it were to launch on the system, I don't think they could charge more than $20
Yeah.
for that.
And also, has
Donkey Kong
Nintendo
Country begs to differ with that.
Yeah, that's true. And it's Activision.
has Nintendo ever had cross-platform play?
Yeah.
With Xbox?
Yeah, with Rocket League has
Rocket
cross.
League.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
No,
But not Call of Duty, although a couple Call of Duties came to Nintendo platforms.
Yeah, like I remember the last one. There's some for the Wii.
I'd say it's
Yeah,
plausible.
and the DS.
I'd say it's the crossplay. The crossplay is plausible. Call of Duty coming to Switch is a no-brainer. It will absolutely happen.
Yeah.
Like there, a couple of the franchises that sat out the launch will be back.
The chat is absolutely blowing up right now due to your Waluigi and Wario diss. Cool Cats Lily, fan of the show, friend of the show, said, "Don't you diss Waluigi, Brian." Mason E says, "Banish him now." See, I told you got to be careful.
Well,
There's a ton of Waz coming in the chat right now.
you grew up in
We
an
got a lot of
Italian
Waz.
neighborhood, so you had uncles
I've got
like
plenty of people.
Waluigi.
Half my family looks like Waluigi. All right? Don't tell me how to react to Waluigi.
It's okay.
I got cousins that look like Waluigi everywhere.
All right, let's keep moving.
I want paper Waluigi, by the way.
paper Waluigi.
Paper Waluigi.
I'm trying to imagine
Paper
Waluigi
Wario.
as a cute cutout, and I'm having a really hard time doing it.
Yeah,
Nothing cute
he's
about
just
him.
constantly creepy. But
I love that weird uncle. Don't quote me otherwise.
So Sega will also reveal their Sega Aegis line for the West, and 2 of their games will be the first 2 Sonic Adventure games that were released on Dreamcast, which actually I would be excited to replay.
I would too. I actually really liked, especially Sonic Adventure 2, which I first played on the GameCube. So
Really?
back to Nintendo. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I didn't first play it on the Dreamcast.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I would love to revisit that series in general. I doubt it's gonna hold up. I haven't played it since I played it on Dreamcast.
It honestly doesn't. Like Sonic
Adventure
Adventure.
2?
I loved the look of those games. I think they have a lot of issues that will annoy you, especially now. Like post Odyssey, like you play a game like
Yeah.
Mario Odyssey, and then you go into Adventure. You're like, just let me run, man.
I think Sonic Adventure 1 does not hold up, but I think Sonic Adventure 2 does. It's not an open world exploration platform game. It's separated by levels. So
Yeah.
I liked the level design. I liked
Yeah.
the variation of the different characters you got to use.
Still has a lot of stop and go.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that game
Unless-
needed to embrace.
You got really good and memorized all of the levels, in which case it was not stop and go, but
You can just run through the whole thing.
True,
that
but then
requires a
my
lot of
OCD-ness
replaying.
requires that I check what's behind that block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying a word.
This is all like very speculative like leaks
Yep.
that are could very well not be true. So
Very
take
plausible,
all
too.
of it, with a grain of salt. This is not confirmed at all.
Rolling around with a grain of salt.
Hey,
Lazy Man
the
also
wrong lyrics. Don't diss City
rolling
Escape.
around with a grain of salt. Okay.
Yeah. Next.
Lazy Man also mentioned that we'll get a Metroid Prime 4 gameplay trailer with an announcement for 2009 release date, which I don't doubt that we'll get some sort of a Metroid Prime 4
That's not a leak.
trailer.
That's like everyone's guess.
Yeah.
Right?
exactly.
Like that's a no-brainer guess.
Yeah. But
I like the more specific stuff like Sega Aegis.
how about this for specific? Pokemon for Switch is revealed, and it's a new take on Red and Blue and features graphics that are midway between Sun and Moon and Pokken Tournament. Would you guys be okay with that?
I would be
Yeah.
super excited about it. I don't think I really think it's going to be a new generation though. I don't see them coming out with a remake as their first
Me neither.
foray into
Yeah.
a new system with
Yeah.
new graphics.
It's plausible because they have to redo all the assets. If they're not using an existing engine, they have to create all new models for this stuff. I don't know. I'd be cool with that. Those were really, really good games, and I haven't played them in like 400 years. So
I would actually be super excited about it.
Yeah, I would be excited for a new take on Red and Blue. Those are my favorites. They were the original games for all you youngins out there. But we'll see. I don't know. Five Nights at Freddy's is also apparently coming to Switch, according to Lazy Man, which was really like a weird prediction for me because like I understand the popularity of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a massive game. A lot of people watch other people play that game on YouTube. But I feel like it's kind of like run its course by
They got to
now.
do something new.
Huh?
They got to do something new. They got to do 5 nights at Waluigi's.
Five Nights at Waluigi's. Some Mario or some Nintendo exclusive content in there.
Yes.
That would be pretty cool. And then finally, the last thing he says is just 2 trailers for Smash Brothers for Switch are the last things with a separate announcement of the Ice Climbers at the Nintendo Treehouse Live, which sounds plausible to me. I don't see why they would split it up with 2 different trailers. I'd rather just get like a gigantic reveal trailer that like shows off a lot of gameplay.
they like to fake people out. I could see that, right? Like they always pretend like, oh, this is this game, and then suddenly it's Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I could see that.
God, I love that.
Okay.
Those are the best trailers.
They
I love
seriously
them so
are
much.
like the most exciting video game trailers.
Yeah.
It's finding
That
out about new
Splatoon
Smash
trailer
Brothers.
was amazing.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
It's so damn good. That just turned into a whole thing. Just looking at the glint in her eye and its logo, and it's this new game coming. It's so good.
It kind of set the internet on fire for a couple days.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
So yeah, let's go ahead and keep moving forward. We just heard word today that there's a surprise Splatoon 2 announcement coming on June 9th, which we absolutely don't know anything about. We didn't know that this was coming, so it could be anybody's guess right now. A lot of people are saying different things. I've heard a lot of weird predictions.
It said it's something that's going to blow the fans' mind.
Right. What? Now, there is speculation. There's already rumors, of course, on the internet. I've heard of Battle Royale mode possibly coming to
Totally
Splatoon.
made up.
Battle Royale for
would work.
everything.
It could so work
I
for
think it really
Splatoon.
could work for Splatoon.
It could work.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys...
It seems like weirdly reactive of Nintendo to do something like that. They're so diagonal from
Yeah. But maybe think about like when development on a lot of the Battle Royale modes started, like every developer is like, oh, we're going to be the first one to add this to our game. Now like every game's going to have it. It feels like Battle Royale really needs that high player count though. And that's obviously what's different about Splatoon. And like the concept of an arena that gets smaller and smaller is so smart, and I hope more games replicate that, but there's got to be that survival aspect to it, and it's hard to do that with a game with 8 players.
When you're slinging ink all over the place, I mean, you kind of reveal your location as soon as you start fighting.
Yeah.
I'd rather want a blacklight mode where like alarms go off, black light goes on, and both colors look the same. And you have no idea. You have no idea who was winning. Like something like that would be cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's gonna be a mobile game.
Ooh.
Oh, mobile Splatoon?
Don't kill me, but no, I
But
think
that's not a Splatoon 2 announcement.
I think there'll be a Splatoon 2 mobile game.
Splatoon 2 mobile spinoff.
Yeah, I do think so. Either that, or I think they're going to put.
It's like Kicks or something where you just like color squares.
Yeah, sure, I like that. Either that, or they will fold in some like very recognizable first party characters, or they'll do some major crossover event thing.
That just happened, right? Like
they did it with
Fortnite
Ninja Turtles.
and
They did it,
Avengers.
Fortnite Avengers, which was basically just like two things trending on Twitter came together to make one thing.
You think Thanos is going to be taking over the
Splatoon?
Splatoon universe? Yeah.
Splatoon
I
2.
hope so.
When my friends were talking about like, oh, this stuff leaked, I was like, there's no way that's happening. That's a complete lie. That is not. And then I come back into work this week and I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's real.
This is real.
And apparently it's really fun and really good.
It is. It is super fun.
I mean, Splatoon 2 just had like a Ninja Turtles thing recently.
Yeah.
With the Splatfest.
And in Japan, they have a crossover with Sanrio, like the Hello Kitty people.
Label
so
Hello Kitty.
I think they're clearly
outfits.
talking to people. So I think that like some major sort of just taking a really big popular thing and merging it with Splatoon. There he is. There's that boy with another big popular thing. I think it'll work out really well.
Yeah. It'd be cool to get Nintendo characters in there, just like
That's what they pitched the game with to begin with, right?
The game originally was supposed to have, it was supposed to feature like Nintendo franchise characters.
Yeah.
Like
get
there's
Samus in there in her gear.
there's screenshots of Splatoon or Mario and Yoshi running around with like inkling guns and stuff like that, which is incredible to see. It's really,
Yoshi
really
was
cool.
actually vomiting paint all over the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had, several people got sick and they had to ban the game.
That's how he attacks. Yeah,
It's true.
Yeah. So did you guys hear about this news about Nintendo hiring a Legend of Zelda level designer?
Get out.
Yeah.
What?
They're going to have
This is
people designing levels.
Apparently, Nintendo is hiring a level designer specifically for the Legend of Zelda series, and it's for a job listing that's set in their Kyoto headquarters in Japan. So this person must be very well versed in Japanese and be able to communicate with the team because it's obviously a big team project. So I have a question for the chat. What do you guys think about this? Do you think that the next Zelda game will be a mainline game or a mainline entry to the series, or will this be a smaller 2D style Zelda game, sort of like A Link Between Worlds? And I have the same question for you guys too.
It's very, first of all, it's very interesting that they posted something so specific for the Legend of Zelda franchise. That could mean that they lost one of their key talent on the team. And so they want to attract some people who have an affinity towards Zelda by spelling it out. It's very un-Nintendo, huh? To identify that.
Yeah.
Instead of saying we're looking for a level designer for big open world games or something.
This is like, I don't know, this is kind of a harsh thing to say, but Breath of the Wild didn't have levels.
Yeah, but it had really brilliant
It had shrines.
stage setup.
It had,
and,
it
you know.
had fantastic individual puzzles.
And
It
the
had
beasts were very complicated machines.
sort
too.
of, yeah, sort of. I mean, they were kind of dungeony, but in terms of like this massive interlocking
sure.
labyrinthian thing that was, you accessed areas using specific weapons and stuff like that. Kind of. It didn't really get into that.
Levels is weird terminology.
Yeah.
Right. We had someone here at IGN who speaks Japanese translate the listing for us because it was entirely in Japanese, and they were able to confirm that one of the responsibilities would be to work on dungeons, and they didn't say anything like
Dungeon creation,
work
enemy
on
design.
shrines. Yeah, dungeon creation exactly. So like, does that mean that this Zelda game will go back to sort of dungeons instead of what we saw with shrines? Are shrines just dungeons, and like that's just what they're calling them now?
I mean, I feel like they just kind of knocked this game out of the park and then asked fans and players like, what would you like to see in a future Zelda games? And a lot of people said, hey, give me more kind of like the bigger eventful themed dungeons across the map. I would definitely think they'll go that direction with the next one. I don't think they'll go back to the more kind of like linear setup of a classic like Ocarina of Time. I think they love that open world and shrine setup and exploration. But how cool would it be if there were 8 dungeons and you actually had to find certain tools to open them up? You need the hook shot for the forest temple or something, you know?
I really loved the setup in Link Between Worlds because I walked into the first dungeon I walked into in that game was the hardest one, and I just got my butt kicked, and it was like. It felt like playing the original Zelda game all over again.
I really loved Link Between Worlds.
Me too.
A lot.
Me
Good
too.
game.
So I would totally love something smaller like that to hold us over until the next big sort of Breath of the Wild style game.
So you like, to his question, you would prefer something more 2D or like the big enchilada again?
No, absolutely something 2D. Yeah, absolutely. I
Especially if it's going to come out this year,
Yeah, no, totally.
which is not going to happen. I mean, they're just hiring for someone. But
Yeah.
It's like Blossom Tales like is kind of like that amped up Link to the Past,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I would be totally fine with a beautiful 2D Zelda game like that, like a Link Between Worlds.
Yep.
But man, I had so much fun with Breath of the Wild. I would prefer that. Like
Me-
if they
well,
just
yeah.
double down on that. And
why not both?
Yeah,
Go
why
fast.
not both? Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
all right, yeah.
I mean, if we have
Yeah,
this
this new level guy, he's going to work
Yeah.
on that.
if we have the
spin-off.
small Zeldas to hold us over to the big ones, I'm totally happy with that because I love both, really.
I'll have small Zeldas before the big Zeldas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why'd you make it weird?
You said small Zeldas.
So Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate was announced for
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch today.
It was.
Yes.
And so this is actually a localization of Monster Hunter Double Cross, which is the ultimate like G rank version of Monster Hunter Cross, which
does
is
that mean,
called
G-rank
Monster Hunter. I'll get to that.
Well,
So
Monster Hunter Double Cross came out for Switch in Japan.
yeah, and
not
the 3DS.
in the West. And
but
3DS.
it's never
yeah.
been here, never come out here.
So now we're finally getting it technically, right?
It was
Yes.
on Wii U or on Switch.
No.
Not on.
We got Monster Hunter Generations in 2016. Generally, the G rank version is what America gets first, and it's an expanded version of the game, which comes with a harder difficulty called G rank.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
The
so-
hardest thing about these games should be playing them, but it's not. It's actually figuring out which one is which.
Yes.
For some reason, the Japanese and American or English naming conventions are always different.
Okay.
But Double Cross and Generations Ultimate are the same game.
Gotcha. And this game is like, for people who haven't played it, it is kind of visually more akin to a 3DS game.
Because
it's not
it was
like
originally a 3DS game ported to the Switch.
Yep.
And
There's some
here
trailer
is
footage right
the,
there.
Yeah, there we go. The cool thing, so Generations, for those of you who've played
That's
on the
CG
3DS,
though. That's not what
yeah,
it
that's
looks like.
CG.
This is all
That's
CG if you're watching the show. Don't get excited.
But everyone who's played Generations, you'll be able to transfer your save into Double Cross and Generations Ultimate. Sorry,
That's
I keep
gameplay.
calling it Double Cross.
That's what it looks like.
But it introduces. So, just to put things into comparison, Monster Hunter World had 32 large monsters. Generations had 73.
Wow.
And Generations Ultimate or Double Cross has 93
Okay,
large monsters.
wow.
There's an incredible amount of content.
How many did World have?
32.
32, and this
Big
is
ones.
Over
32
90.
big ones.
That's
And so
Yeah.
World, obviously, if you haven't played World, it was on the other console platforms, visually really impactful,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
beautiful
Very
game,
beautiful.
right? And you greatly enjoyed that game.
Yeah.
But do you love that kind of return to variety? Like, are you okay taking a visual hit and
So,
getting more monsters?
The visual hit doesn't bother me.
Okay.
The quality of life improvements that World gave us will.
Right. There were a lot of systems that were evolved in the new
Yeah.
one, right?
So, for example, in the older, this game came out in Japan a long time ago. So it still follows the same old Monster Hunter style, where when you're gathering plants or insects or whatnot, when you go to a gathering spot, you have to actually watch the animation of them getting on their hands and knees and collecting the stuff.
Yeah.
So gathering and collecting in the old Monster Hunters take a lot more time, or is way more time consuming than it ever was in Monster Hunter World.
Gotcha.
So going back to things like that, you'll be missing your quality of life, but you'll have a lot more stuff to do. And it also introduces this thing called Hunter Styles, which gives you different move sets for your weapons. For example, you can go in aerial style, and now even though you're using a greatsword, you can vault up into the air like an insect glaive user could. Or you can use the adept style, which really focuses on counterattacks and waiting to the last minute to dodge so you can get off a counterattack and things like that. And it also includes hunter arts, which are special attacks that are pretty cool, and it's just generally more flashy than your general Monster Hunter games are.
So do you
So
think
you're excited?
I'm excited because honestly, I actually kind of missed Generations. I barely played it at all because when Generations came out, I was working way too much, so I just
do you think
didn't play
Capcom
it.
is porting this game because Switch can't run World? To be blunt,
Man, yeah.
yeah. I mean, because it's cool to have a Monster Hunter game there. It's not the newest one,
Yeah, it is not.
but it
the
is a
newest one.
Monster Hunter game.
It
right?
is.
To be
And-
like completely again blunt.
Yeah, and up until this point, they would not talk to me about if Double Cross was coming to the West. They would just not say anything about it. So I, along with a bunch of other people, had just assumed that Monster Hunter Double Cross would not come here. Like even just yesterday, I saw a meme going around of Monster Hunter Double Cross logo, deteriorating, a la Avengers. Like, I don't feel so good. It's like, oh man.
Oh, no.
So it's kind of ironic that.
Well, here it is.
Yeah,
but
here it
but
is.
I mean, like, just World. You bring up World. Any game can run on Switch. It's just a question what the sacrifice will be, right?
Right.
Whether it's continuously bumping down the resolution to where you have a 720p game versus a 1080p or 4K raster, whatever.
That's true.
upscaled
That is
one.
definitely true.
Or kind of limiting the design of the characters. It's always a question whether a publisher wants to spend the money to hire a developer to make that change,
Yeah.
right?
And for those curious about this generation of Monster Hunter, you can actually still play the Monster Hunter Generations demo on the 3DS. So you can go and find that on the eShop right now if you have a 3DS and check it out. It shouldn't be that much different because it's just, as I said, like an expansion of Generations, the one that's coming out for the Switch.
Cool.
Very exciting stuff.
Oh, and one more thing, you can play as a Palico in Monster Hunter Generations.
That's
and
a
Monster Hunter
weird, creepy
Generations
cat,
Ultimate.
right?
He's not creepy. They're not creepy. Well, Naviru might be. I'm pointing at the little amiibo down there.
Hey, where did those amiibo come from?
Oh, I don't know. I just found them lying around. They don't belong to anyone for sure. But
we talked about
I'm sorry.
my amiibo.
I'm just really
Philip told me to.
yeah. I'm just super excited that we're finally getting Monster Hunter on Switch.
Yeah.
In whatever form it's
So many people have been asking for it for a really long time, so it's great to finally see it coming here, and it's actually going to be on the show floor at E3.
awesome.
Cool.
Very cool. Are you gonna play it?
Yes, I'm going to try very hard to play it.
The last game did pretty well in Japan. I mean, I assume Monster Hunter is going to continue on Switch, and as the install base is going to grow in Japan as well, I think we'll see more games. It's going to be interesting to see if the lines split, if they make different games for PS4 and Xbox.
I'm really interested in that.
Going forward.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, because Monster Hunter is so popular in Japan, you see so many people playing Monster Hunter on trains and during commute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest games over there, right?
Yep.
So,
Thank you, Japan, for making this continue to be successful.
all right, so let's talk about some games that are releasing this week and also next week as well. We got some special permission to talk about Battle Chasers Nightwar a little bit early, so I want to open up our leading game segment with that. Brian and I have been playing a little bit of this game. You played a little bit of it today, right?
Yeah, yesterday, the day before, last few days. I've been really into this game.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, so this game was available previously on like PC. Was it on other consoles as well?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
The art style is done by like famous comic book artist Joe Madeira, who has been on IGN stuff a bunch of times, and it's gorgeous. Like it's just like this really kind of like illustratory classic comic book design.
Well, it's actually based off of the comic book
based off
Battle
the comic,
Chasers,
which is awesome. And the animation is fantastic. It's effectively an RPG.
Yeah, it's turn-based. Yeah.
But the way that unfolds is a little different because the overworld feels kind of more like moving around the map in something like Super Mario World or Super Mario.
So you're on rails,
Right.
yeah.
Kind of,
exactly,
yeah. But it does open up into dungeons and open areas that have like a very kind of painterly look. They almost feel like Diablo. Really awesome enemy design. Just a cool variety in heroes and characters that you can play as. They get really great weapons. They all have like little comic book icons that come out and voice bubbles and stuff like that. Cutscenes are gorgeous. It's definitely ramping up in difficulty already for me, and I'm about 5 hours in.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a game that will kind of push you to grind a little more than the average game you're looking for, which I know that's something that a lot of RPG players are looking for. And I think on Switch works really well because you can just like, I don't know, put on something on the TV and just kind of go through a bunch of battles, level up. I think you'll really dig it.
So this is not a small
so
indie
cool.
game. It's like a lot of work went
Yeah.
into art and music and game design. It's $40, right?
Yeah, this game has this has incredible
Guts.
production design. It's a really, this is not like Pear said, it's not your sort of like run of the mill cheap like iPhone game that got dragged and dropped onto Switch. Like this is a big, robust, beautiful game. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to read. There's a lot of lore.
I love how the view of the kind of the isometric overworld view looks a little bit like Ogre Battle, like the classic Ogre Battle games,
totally.
like style-wise.
Totally.
Really digging that.
I really like the use of the HD rumble in the Switch. Like it feels really good every single time. Like one of your party members attacks an enemy, you can really feel that like rumble feature hit really hard, and it's super satisfying. Also, the music is really good.
It's really
you
good,
notice
yeah.
that? Yeah, the music is really intense. Now, I will say, as much as I'm enjoying the story, I really feel like the characters themselves aren't really fleshed out. Like there isn't a lot of depth to them, which is a little unfortunate. I know you're only 5 hours in, but the story itself is pretty compelling. It's keeping me playing, that's for sure. But I've also been running into some smaller technical issues with it as well. Like I know load times are a little long, but it's not that big of a deal right now. Hopefully there'll be like a day one patch coming out.
Yeah, I noticed like some of the initial loads can be pretty heavy.
Well, I'll have like problems where I just run into a battle and it'll like load for like 15 seconds before the battle starts.
That's interesting. And I have noticed some like frame skips and some hiccups like walking around the overworld a little bit where it just kind of looks like, I don't know, like a DVD jumped for a second.
Yeah.
Hopefully that stuff gets ironed out in a patch or something. I imagine it will. But it mostly is like when you're moment to moment, it's running pretty well for the most part.
No, totally. Yeah, it's still definitely worth picking up, especially if you're an RPG fan. I mean, this
What is it called again?
Battle Chasers Nightwar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might have to buy
Looks
it.
really
Looks
cool.
really
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's $39.99 and it comes out on May 15th. So that's this coming Tuesday. So keep an eye out for that.
Is that your pick of the week?
No, because it's coming out next week. Yeah, it's
all right, fine.
it would be the pick of the week this week if it was coming out this week. But it's not. So Garage is actually a game that came out today on Thursday, May 10th. And that's actually an indie title that was announced during, I believe, the March Direct.
Yeah.
So like that's when we got a bunch of Nindies announced for Switch, and Garage was one of them. One of the games that really caught my eye. It's like this top-down isometric. It's not really a twin stick shooter, but it plays a little bit like one. I guess you could call it a twin stick shooter, right?
Yeah, and it's got some sort of mild survival elements. I mean, not really.
To me, this is like Hotline Miami meets
that's what it looked
Resident
like.
Evil.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Resident Evil Gaiden for the Game Boy Color. But yeah, it's actually a pretty tough game. It's kind of subverted my expectations because it starts off as a kind of typical top-down action survival game, and then little by little becomes, I would say, wildly hallucinogenic. And you get abilities to break down walls, and it gets a lot different, and it actually kind of started to lose me a little bit. I don't love this game. I don't hate it either. I just kind of like it. It's cool. I'm gonna keep it on my Switch and give it some more time. But yeah, so far I think it's not like your generic top-down action game, because it's doing some interesting stuff. But it's also kind of just another top-down game about zombies.
Yeah.
But
Kicking rats.
and kicking rats, which are surprisingly tough.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Well,
like
zombie rats.
I think they are.
Yeah.
They, or
Yeah,
they're
there's
Yeah, they're
zombie
zombie rats. Yeah, they're the most annoying zombie rats I've ever ran into in a
That's
video
problem.
game before.
Big problem, zombie rats.
Yeah. But if you like survival horror games, it's pretty good. It's okay. It's not as exciting as I thought it would be, but it's still worth playing through, and I definitely am going to finish it.
This is
So.
Garage.
Garage.
Was it difficult?
It's getting difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, very difficult. But what's nice is you don't really run out of ammo too often. There's like lots of weapons around, and it's pretty easy to kill the zombies. The rats are a pain though. Like just stay away
You
from
have
the
to kick
rats.
them.
You have
You
to.
can't really do.
You
other
can
stuff.
shoot them, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like weird.
It's easier. Yeah.
Unloading an Uzi on
rat.
at rats.
Just
Yeah,
pick a rat.
exactly. Yeah, I know, man. I know we've been kind of skimping out on question block these past couple weeks, but we've seriously just been running out of time. There's been so much stuff to talk about, so I promise that we will get to. We'll make like a special like 10-15 minute long segment where we can just talk to you guys directly with the chat, because I'm so happy to have you all here with us in the chat. But I do want to get to one question from Professor Game & Watch. He asks, "What's the strangest place you've played your Switch?" This is a really good question. I don't know. Like, I feel like I've played it in so many different places.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
like,
let one of you guys go.
Everybody says toilet.
Yeah.
That's not strange. Like, I mean, everyone's got a spare Switch in there.
We've got people in the
Restroom,
chat,
right?
That's true.
Yeah.
We've got people in the chat saying, "I've played my Switch at Microsoft." That's a pretty strange place to play your
Oh, that's
Switch.
awesome.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I feel like there is no actual strange place to play your Switch.
Another person said a funeral.
Oh, that's
Wow.
yeah.
You did
Okay.
not. You did not like that person
That's
that died.
not.
I guess not.
I hope you use the black one.
I think we've probably
Colorful Joy-Con. in that one.
the black Joy-Cons.
Yes, the black Joy-Con.
My
the
Joy-Cons are
gray.
grieving.
Yeah. These are my morning.
Hold on, let me switch them. No, like I feel like I've played it on a train. I've played it on a plane. I've played it on a boat.
You see there, Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, I'm very Seussian today. None of those are weird.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Like
Yeah.
I've played it at a bar, but that's normal
played it in
according
a car.
to
I don't
the
know
trailer,
that that's
right?
normal.
Like
I don't know that that's normal.
I'm actually watching an anime right now called Love is Hard for an Otaku, and like the first episode they're just playing Monster Hunter Double Cross on their Switch in a bar.
Oh wow.
So that's totally normal.
Yeah. I think honestly, like, as we get more or further into the Switch's life cycle, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more of that stuff happening.
Yeah.
People just bringing it out into the public, playing it at bars and different spots like that.
I think my favorite place was I was playing ARMS in the Cerulean Hotel in Tokyo, just like kind of overlooking the whole city. Just like I had this huge picture window, and I was just like leaned up against the wall playing it. I'm like,
That's cool.
this is great. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, that's our show this week. We're a weekly show on IGN.com every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. But you could also catch us on YouTube.com/Nintendo Voice Chat on Fridays if you don't want to catch the episode a day early on IGN.
You should.
You definitely should. And of course, you can always listen to us as well on any of your favorite podcast listening services, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all of that good stuff. Thank you guys very much for joining me here today. And
course.
thank you very much in the chat. It's great to see all of your all of your names. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Get the thing.